And then when it is currently the 27th of November 2014, you're taking a look at the latest satellite imagery coming from a tropical depression, Queenie, soon to be called Tropical Storm Sinlaku, if Japan Meteorological Agency does upgrade this. And it does look like they're going to once it moves across the Sulu Sea and back out towards the South China Sea, where this is going to be gaining some more intensification just due to those very warm sea surface temperatures and really escaping a lot of the vertical wind shear from the north. But as you can see, this is the past 24 hours, and well, really, this storm system has just been rolling over the Philippines. It made landfall in northern Mindanao here on your Wednesday afternoon through the evening hours, moving across parts of Visayas, and we've been seeing some tremendous rain really coming out of this. Take a look at some rainfall reports. This comes really evident. Some areas seeing well over 50 millimeters in just a 24-hour period, and I think this is just showing a broad perspective, these 50-plus millimeter reports, because in some isolated locations may have seen upwards of 100 to possibly 200 millimeters of rainfall, especially here into central Visayas, north of the center of circulation, where you have been seeing that precipitation pump on shore for a good 24 hours now, and that results in the training effect, and it does cause some localized heavy rainfall, especially in some of these mountainous areas. Now, as far as Thursday, the impact, a lot of strandees out here, a lot of people just being stuck at wherever port they are. A lot of ferries were canceled, several flights were also canceled, and numerous schools, in fact. Schools in all levels in Cebu City, so I guess you had a little bit of a rain day out there. All classes were suspended. I do want to scroll up here on the NDRMC SITREP here put out with the impacts from this storm, and there's actually about 9 homes that were damaged due to strong winds. And I know I've been saying this is a big rain event, but there has been some pretty gusty winds come out of this. You can even see here on Thursday night, we're still looking at some gale force winds across eastern portions of Visayas and even extending out through eastern Luzon, just due to that association with the northeast monsoon and the easterlies continuing to come on shore here. Center of circulation now out over the Sulu, as I mentioned. Northern Palawan, you're still seeing some pretty gusty winds. Actually, could be upwards of about 35 knots sustained, I think, in some areas. And that would actually put it at tropical storm intensity if that was to occur. So we go through the overnight hours, though, our low is going to track off there towards the west, moving over the island, and then eventually basically head back out here into the South China Sea, as I mentioned at the beginning of the update. Still will have these strong easterly winds, so still looking at more rainfall across parts of the Philippines. Even take a look at the accumulation outlook from this same model, where the heaviest precipitation is still going to be occurring out here in Palawan, western Visayas, but also those easterlies still kick up, and it brings in that rainfall just towards the east of Manila, well off towards the north. Now, as we take a look at the extended range, though, I don't want to just end with the conversation of what's going on in the Philippines, because we do have this storm, and it's going to track towards Vietnam. Likely make landfall as we go ahead into Saturday night into Sunday. See it just tracking out here. This is overnight hours. Now we're going into Saturday night and the overnight hours, Saturday into Sunday, making landfall here during the early morning hours. By this time, though, I do see some vertical wind shear starting to act on it as it does get into this area of the South China Sea. And let's go ahead and we'll just even put the upper level winds here on your screen, let that buffer up, and you can see that what we have is higher winds aloft on the northwestern periphery. Then we go down to the surface winds here. See, there's not much over there. That's indicating that high amount of vertical wind shear, and that's going to tear this thing apart. So this is not going to be super organized once it does make landfall, but still a big rainmaker for eastern portions of Vietnam, and we could see some flooding come out of that. So that's something really we're going to be watching over the next basically several days. Take a look at a few of the tracks from JMA. They do expect it still to intensify to a tropical storm. We call it Sinlaku when it does, after it pushes over Palawan. Right now they have winds about 30 knots sustained. Then as we take a look at the Joint Typhoon Warning Center, not an official agency, but they're still pretty good at what they do. 30 knots sustained as well. They expected a peak at about 50 knots. So we're still talking about severe tropical storm possibly before it does come on shore. And they even expect some weakening prior to landfall. They were at least showing that here in their morning update. And then we got the track from Pagasa. Let's take a look at the latest people under Signal Force 1, Palawan, and a group of the islands in the Kulu Islands. You are going to be seeing the possibility of some 60-kilometer-per-hour winds. Also, parts of Visayas still under Signal Force 1, including southern Negros out here and also into Ilio. So guys, I know we're talking about Queenie here. This has been the big topic, but if you're out here in the Philippines, I know you've been keeping an eye on what's happening back towards the east. And I know when we're talking about November, December storms, we typically, the thumb rule is that they normally are straight runners, and they basically move out here towards the Philippines. But you see this trough diving in from the north right here. You can see it on the cloud cover. You have that line right there. Now, that could act on a low pressure area back here towards the east. A lot of convection in this, and pull it off there towards the north. And there's a few different model outputs showing this, and I'm going to go through ahead and scroll through a few of these for you. Remember, most of these are really long range, and we're talking about the 4th into the 5th of December. So first off, by this weekend, we do expect another shot of rainfall to come across the Philippines. I do want to note about that. So take a look at the top of the screen here. You have the 3rd going to the 4th, and then the 5th, and then eventually over towards the 6th. This is with the ECMWF model, and we have a low just basically lingering right here. You do see a front acting on this, though. Let's put this back up on your screen, and basically off towards the northeast, you can see that shear line right in there, and that very well could pull this towards the northeast if this was to unfold. Remember, we're still talking about nearly a week and a half from now. It actually goes with the GFS model, and we go ahead and scroll through here. You have a low that does develop as we go through the 3rd into the 4th and the 5th, but that little pull in from the northeast, and you can see a cold surge coming in, that kind of acts on it a little bit more, and eventually just kicks it off and weakens it. And eventually even another low develops behind that and starts to spin up. So the models, I think the big thing to take from this, and I'm showing you just these two because the other ones, they show very similar outputs. The big thing to take from this is that I do expect tropical activity to really kick up in the next week. How intense is that going to be? That's kind of the big question, and where exactly are all these lows going? So right now, let's just keep an eye on the tropics, guys. By no means, and please don't ask, hey, how strong is this going to be? And what's the track? We don't have a storm to even predict that, and we need a genesis phase to follow through, but models are being aggressive. We do have a lot of moisture out there, so something forming next week. Possible. Where? It could have an impact on the Philippines, but right now it seems like it might not happen. That said, that is all for now, everybody. Thanks again for watching here, and as always, stay safe out there. All right.